Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Toxic Infections, the tutorial. My name is Aaron, and I'm the solo developer of Toxic Infections, this TCG game. It is up on the Steam Workshop for Tabletop Simulator if you want to give it a shot. But this is the tutorial video, so I'm going to kind of walk you through what I've created here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a backstory here. It's just something I've been working on for the past 5 to 6 years. It's a passion project in between the time off that I have on my full-time job. I am a tattoo artist, so I do a lot of art all the time. And when I have downtime, I want to create things, and I have ideas, and I have ideas and ideas and ideas, and this is one of them. I don't have too much experience in playing trading card games, and I don't have much experience in developing card games, but I've been working on this for an extensive amount of time during my free time, and I have drawn every single one of these cards on Procreate. Uh, so the reason I created this game was out of frustration for not having enough time to play other TCGs like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or anything like that. It's just I don't have the time to learn all the new meta strategies or what every single card does and try to keep up with how skilled people are, especially because they're so grandfathered into those older TCGs. So I decided, I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to create my own fucking TCG, and we'll see what happens. It's just something. And I have a huge love for zombies, and I have a huge love for Futurama. So you're going to see a lot of influenced art. It's not copied art. Of course, everything that I've drawn in here is completely mine. Uh, but you can easily tell that it's heavily influenced by like Matt Groening cartoons, which is pretty cool because they're kind of fucking awesome. Uh, so in front of you, you got the Toxic Infections rules and info. You can hold left Alt to open up the Toxic Infections rules and info. If you hold down Alt, it zooms it in really fast. You can scroll your scroll wheel right through all the rules. That's pretty cool. You got your battlefield and your summoning zone right here in front of you. You have ability use tokens. You have 2 area card slots. You have your starter deck, which has 100 cards in it. But of course, I have some example cards that I'm going to be using to show y'all. You also have your grave. That's where all your cards that get defeated in battle, they go into the grave. You also are going to be starting off with 20 morale. That's your player health. That's the thing that you're going to be fighting to protect and fighting to destroy on your opponent. And then you also have a turn counter, and this is just to keep track of how many turns you went through and stuff like that. Because some of the cards may need you to keep track of how many turns have passed, and the beginning of every game, it's going to need you to keep track of how many turns have passed. You also have a section for the void cards, which are off to your right. Void cards are cards that are sent to the void. They're beyond the grave, so you cannot remove them from the void back into the gameplay. But there are cards within the starter deck here that are going to be playing on if a card is sent to the void, and it's a whole archetype and stuff like that. And then you got some dice over here, which are pretty fun. The dice don't really do much. It's just more of a quality of life thing. I just have these out here in case you come into a situation where a card is being buffed or nerfed to such a degree that you need to keep track of it. You can just pull a dice over here. Then you can right click, and then you can set the rotation value to a certain number. Let's say you want your thing is 6, so now you know that that card's attack or health or whatever one that you're keeping track of is now 6. So that's pretty cool. And then the last thing that is in this on this table are these 2 decks over here. This is the all all of the cards. Um, they include the cards that are in the starter deck, but there's much more that weren't included into the starter deck. And if you get tired of using the starter deck, you can go through all of these decks over here, these 2 decks over here, and kind of build your own and see what you like, what you want to play with, all that sort of fun stuff. All right, let's get into this. We are going to go through the Toxic Infections rules and info. This is going to teach us how to play the game. So, of course, this is the index for it, but At the start of it, we're going to talk about the grace period first. At the start of every game, players may not attack until their fifth turn. This is to encourage a fair battle between players and to set up their battlefield. I don't like I don't like games where as soon as I sit down in my chair, my opponent defeats me. So I made this game to where there's a chance that the game can last a little bit. So you may only attack on your fifth turn. That's when you start attacking. You cannot attack prematurely on the very first turn. You have that grace period to safely build up this battlefield with your base cards and your zombies and your survivors, all that fun stuff. So that way you can have a fun game. All right. So the next thing is when you're starting the game, the player starts with the game with 20 morale. This is your player's health. Your goal is to get your opponent's morale to 0 or force your opponent to deck out. Because if they can't draw, they can't play. And at the start of the game, each player draws 5 cards from their deck to their hand. And starting from each turn, a player draws 2 cards from their deck to their hand. Let's talk about that. So at the start of your turn, whoever goes first will draw 7 cards, but whoever goes your opponent will draw 5 cards. But you will initially just draw 5 cards. But if you go first, then you're drawing your first 2 cards already. That's why the first player will always draw 7. And every single turn, you'll draw 2 cards. All right, so every turn, a player has the following and are limited to the following, unless specified differently by a card ability: 2 preparation stages and 1 attack stage. And we will get to that here in a second. On the next page, it'll talk about that. But at the start of every game, the players have the option to mulligan only once, and it must be before the player plays any cards. During this process, the players, if choosing to mulligan, may not choose what cards to keep from their initial hand and must discard them all. See, not too long ago, I didn't know what mulligan meant, and it was only till recently I discovered what it actually means in card games. And if you don't know, that means your starting hand, you may choose to throw all of them underneath, either to the grave or to the bottom of the deck. But in my case, for my game, I'm allowing you to put them on the bottom of your deck. And you can just pick things up with left click. You can press F to flip decks, stuff like that. But you'll group everything up and then put it in the bottom of the deck to get rid of your initial hand. And then you'll redraw your initial hand. And that's if you have a really crappy first hand. You're allowed to do that once at the very beginning of the game. But once the game starts and you start playing cards, you cannot mulligan. All right. On the page 2, preparation stage. So during your turn, you get 2 preparation stages, which are optional, but they're limited to 2 of any of the following. You can summon a card, or you can move a card, but summoning a card costs a preparation stage, and moving a card costs a preparation stage. But you can mix it up however much you want. So for an example, on your turn, you can do one of the following. You can move a card. That's 2 preparation stages. Summon a card. That's 2 preparation stages. Or move a card and summon a card, which is also 2 preparation stages. Because you are limited to 2 preparation stages, you can only do 2 of those things. And that means that when you're summoning a card, you're going to take a base card. And you can tell it's a base card because if you hold Alt in scroll wheel, you can zoom in. At the bottom middle of the card, it says base card. These are the only cards that will be able to attack and defend your battlefield. So me just summoning a card there costs a preparation stage. And then me moving it costs a preparation stage, which means now I cannot, until next turn, I cannot summon a new card because I summoned a card and I moved that card. Now, if you already have cards in the way, I cannot, and I want to move this guy here, I can, let's say I already summoned him, but I want to move him up. Well, this guy's in the way, so you have to move him up first for this card to be able to move up as well. All right. Now, let's get into the next thing. During your turn, you get to attack once. You get 1 attack stage, unless specified differently by a card ability, of course, but you have the option to attack. You can attack if you want. You don't have to attack. You don't have to use your preparation stages, but you have to draw 2 cards every turn. All right, so During your turn, you get one attack stage, which is also optional. The player chooses one target to attack, so long as it follows the Toxic Infections attack laws, which is on page 3 and 5. We're going to get into that in a second. But summoning cards. To summon a card, the card must first enter the summoning zone. Here's where the card first enters the game. Summoning a card costs 1 preparation stage. Once a player selects a summoning zone slot, that card may only move forward into the battlefield lane above it, unless specified differently by card ability. So let's get into this. This is an interesting concept. My card game is designed completely different than traditional trading card games, because in traditional trading card games, that you battle, of course, is there's like 4 cards in a row versus your opponent's like 4 cards in a row. And that's kind of a very rough explanation of how cards battle in a game. It's just, here's my 4 cards, they're versing your 4 cards. Then we replenish whatever died with a new card, whatever, right? Or at least that's my understanding of it. And my game here is you have to pick one of these summoning zones. You put a card in it. You summon a card, which costs a preparation stage. Then you have to move it up only in this lane. This card cannot switch lanes unless the ability says you can do so, or another card ability says you can swap 2 different cards on the battlefield. This card must stay in this lane, and it can only go forward. And if you have a card here and you summon a card here, you cannot jump that card to put that card there. You cannot do that. It has to continuously go straight, and you have to move those other cards out of the way to get that new card in there. All right. Let's go to the next thing. So we're moving on to the attack laws. This is how attacks work. All cards that attack and defend must be in the battlefield zone. That's this magenta area. This is the battlefield. This is where you're going to do all your heavy lifting of this game. The summoning zone, you can activate abilities, but the battlefield is where you can activate abilities. You can attack, you can defend, all that sort of fun stuff. All right, so when you choose a card to attack, the card that is performing the attack must be in the same lane as the card that you are choosing to target, unless specified differently by a card ability. So let's say the Necromancer here is what my opponent drew, and it's over here. Let's say it's there. This card, if I want to attack this Necromancer, has to be done so with a card that's in this lane. Only these 3 sections of the battlefield can attack these 3 sections of the battlefield, unless I have an ability that says I can attack a different lane. So if my opponent's Necromancer was here, then I can take this target and I can attack this Necromancer directly if I needed to, but I also have to follow the attack laws that I will get into here in a second. But that is the only way that you can attack. Each lane has their designated targets. So, but any of these cards can attack any of these cards over here. Okay. Now, a successful attack is only when one of the below things happens. There's a basic attack, which is the total attack power of your card is greater than the health of your target. Your card survives, but the target card is then sent to the grave. What does that mean? Well, let's say my target is the Swarm. Let's say my opponent has the Swarm card, which has a health of 1 and an attack of 1. Well, my base card has an attack of 2. And since your health in this game is your defense, I'm attacking my opponent's health of their card. Well, this is an attack of 2 to their 1. Their card gets destroyed. My card stays safe. That's a basic attack. And that also, because they have 1 or less cards in that lane, means that their morale gets affected by the residual. So since I am an attack of 2, their health is 1. That means 1 health is remaining. Or I accessed the health by 1, which means the attack carries over to their morale because they only have the 1. But if they have 2 cards here, then no residual carries over to anything else. So I only destroy the swarm if I'm using this guy. Okay. That is a basic attack. It's just the total attack power of your card is greater than the health of your target. Then your card survives and the target's sent to the grave. There's now an attack called the dual sacrifice attack. The total attack power of your card is equal to the health of your target, and then both cards are sent to the grave. So, for instance, I'm going to bring this guy back over to my side, and I'm going to bring this guy back. And for instance, if I have this swarm card, which is 1-1, like we just saw, but they also have a 1-1, my attack is equal to the health of my target, which means if I choose to attack, both cards die. They both get sent to the grave. And that's just how I want the game to work. So that's how that works. That's a dual sacrifice attack. Now, next thing, we have a morale attack. Now, that's the opponent's lane is empty and has no cards in it. The total attack power of your card is applied directly to the opponent's morale. So let's say I have this bitten card and I wanted to attack this lane. He doesn't have anything to protect himself with. So I get a total of 2 damage directly to their morale. And a lot of this applies when you're boosting or buffing your card. So if let's say I have the city area card, which boosts the whole battlefield, increase the attack of all survivor type cards on your battlefield by 2. This applies to this card because you can see in the bottom left corner there's a pink brain. This means this character is a survivor card. The attack of this gets increased by 2, and now this attack straight to this empty lane is a complete 4 attack to their morale. That's a big chunk. And then last attack type we have is called a sacrifice attack. The total attack power of your card is less than the health of your target. This sends only your card to the grave. So what that means is let's say I have a bunch of cards and I want to get rid of this card because he's in my way, because let's say this girl is this lady, she's in my hand. I want to put her here and I want to move this necromancer up, but this guy's in the way, but I don't want to move him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack, or you know what? Scratch that. That's not a good example when it comes to this guy. Okay. So let's say I want to move the bitten up in my lane, but the necromancer has to move up first, but the swarm is in the way and I need to get rid of him because I just don't feel like having him anymore. I want to get rid of this guy. So I just want to send him to the grave because maybe I have a card that boosts other cards because of a certain amount of zombies that are in my grave, or whatever the case is. There's a bunch of different strategies you can use, but I want to take this guy out of my battlefield. But on normal circumstances, you can't really do that. You can't just take a card out of your battlefield, put it away. No, you can't do that. You have to get rid of him through sacrifice. So what you're going to do is this attack is 1, but his health is 5. I lose that battle. So I go ahead and I target this guy. This guy dies. This guy's completely safe. Nothing happens to him. And I got rid of this card. So now I can start moving my cards up. That is what you call a sacrifice attack. All right. So the next thing, any card you choose in your battlefield lane can attack any card in the lane across from it. Your card cannot attack any card in the other lanes unless specified differently by a card ability. We talked about this earlier. If this guy has a card here, this guy can't attack this guy. He's in a whole different lane. We have to strategically place cards in our lanes, predict what our deck will give us, so that way we can have the advantage, know what we're about to play what we can, and figure this out as best as we can. But yeah, you cannot attack diagonally unless specified by a card ability. You can only attack forward within the given structure of the lanes. So abilities while attacking. Abilities can be activated only during your turn, and abilities have no cost, and they have no limit to how many can be activated during your turn, unless specified by the card itself. And then abilities can affect all cards on both sides of the playing field, mainly focusing on the battlefield, but can reach the summoning zone and even area cards if specified. So abilities are the words underneath the name. So this is the bitten, and then it's boost the attack of all adjacent zombie type cards by 2. Well, this one's ability is draw 1 zombie type card from your grave to your hand. Well, remember when we sent the swarm to the grave? Well, if I want to activate this ability, you can see at the bottom right-hand corner, it says one-time use. Make sure that whatever card ability you're using, you know how many times you can use it. There's always active, which means the ability is regardless. You never have to actually activate it. It's just always happening. There's one-time use, which means you can only use this ability one time. Then you cannot play it again until possibly you send it to the grave, you revive it again, and then it's back on the field again, or a different card, and then you can use it again. But overall, you can only use that ability once, and once you use that ability, you're going to take one of these ability use tokens, apply it onto your card to let yourself know, hey, I used that ability. But abilities do not cost you anything. If it's your turn and you have your entire battlefield filled up, you have your summoning zone filled up, you can use every single one of those abilities all at the same time if you chose to and if you desire to. And then same thing goes with tether cards. If I have tether cards attached, so here's a hammer tether card, and tether cards you can equip to base cards, but depending on the perspective, is this a survivor tether card? Yes, it's a pink brain. So this is a pink brain base card, so they can work together. Now, tether cards also have abilities. Now, if you had a base card for each one in your battlefield, and then you had a tether card for each one in your battlefield, that is 18 total abilities you can use all in your turn. Abilities have no cost to be able to use them. And then same thing goes for tether cards. You can put tether cards on top of, you can equip tether cards onto your base cards at no cost, so long as it is your turn and you have the tether cards and their perspective ability to be able to use them because of the right brain on the right card, then you're good to do so. And then we'll get more into the tether cards again here in a little bit. But that is the abilities. And then abilities can also be activated in the summoning zone. You just cannot attack or defend in the summoning zone. Affecting morale during an attack. If you want to target your opponent's morale during an attack, the opponent must have one or less cards in the given lane you are targeting, just like we were talking about earlier. If it has one or less cards, then the attack residual will affect the morale. But if they have no cards in a lane, then it will affect directly to your morale. So if your opponent has 2 cards in the lane, morale will not be affected. If your opponent has 1 card in the lane, morale can be affected if your attack to that card was greater than the health of the card you are targeting. It is then the leftover damage residual will carry over and apply to the player's morale. And if your opponent has no cards in the lane, you are targeting the full attack power of your card will apply directly to your opponent's morale, which is really cool stuff. And then movement system, I think we talked about this a second ago. Moving cards around the playing field is simple. It can make really strong strategies if utilized to its full potential. First, we must recognize what's the summoning zone and what's the battlefield. Well, these big words right here tell you that these 3 blue slots here in this row is your summoning zone. And then you got your lane here, lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, but then you got row 1 in the battlefield, row 2 in the battlefield, row 3 in the battlefield. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at some of the abilities. They might be talking about a row or a lane. Okay. The summoning zone is the closest 3 slots nearest to the player. These slots are protected from attacks. These slots cannot attack or defend. abilities can be activated, and once you summon a card in one of these slots, that card is locked and can only move up into the battlefield in that lane. The summoning zone is how the players get cards onto the battlefield, and the only other way cards can get into the battlefield is from card abilities. Be careful on what slot you choose on to summon a card in, because you may want your card to closer to other cards in other lanes to get buffed. Because this card here boosts the attack of all adjacent zombie type cards by 2, and because this Necromancer is a zombie type card and it's adjacent, which is in this context up, down, left, or right of this card, it gets boosted by 2 attack. So strategize. Make sure that if you're summoning your card here, but then you move your card here, and this card boosts the attack of adjacent zombie type cards, diagonal does not count in the context of this game. So do not let your friends or family try to trick you into thinking that the diagonal works. It does not work. Not in this context. Adjacent is adjoining or next to, and diagonal cards are not adjoining or next to in this context. All right. The only other way cards, yeah. So this is the only way cards can get into the battlefield. From the summoning zone, then you move it up into the battlefield. Or you have an ability, then you activate the ability, and then boom, you can now take a card from your hand and put it in the battlefield wherever you need it. Some cards allow you to do so. Upon leaving the summoning zone, you'll see the battlefield. And then, of course, we just talked about the battlefield. Area cards. Area cards are cards that you can draw, and they have no cost to summon. You can only play them on your turn, and area cards are summoned to the side of the battlefield, and when summoned, it only applies to your side of the battlefield, and only 2 area cards may be active per player. And this up here is an area card. This is the city. Like I said, down in the bottom left hand corner of the card, it says area card. It's got a blue print background, and it's got that circle around it with the little symbol in the middle of it. Yeah, this is an area card. They're very easily identifiable, and you put it, when you want to activate it, you pull it from your hand during your turn, you put it up in one of your area card slots, and then now you'll know that you have an area card active. You cannot remove these from play. They stay there once active, so be careful if you have a different area card in your deck that you want to use instead of one certain type of card, or you're trying to focus on something, make sure you apply the right one, because the only way at the moment to get rid of an active area card is hoping that your opponent ejects it from a card ability that he has. Okay. Next thing. So action cards. Action cards are cards that you can play or summon, but has a cost to play them. The cost will be a specified amount of supply cards. And action cards can be played at any time unless specified differently by a card ability. Preferably on your turn, you'll use a action card, and you'll see that it's an action card because on the bottom left corner, you see the red triangle with the black exclamation point, and on the bottom right of this card, it says supply cost is 2. You need 2 of these cards, which are your supply cards, to activate this action card. And this action card will affect my opponent's card. So if I'm targeting this Necromancer King with the infected vial, you can just toss it off to the side and let your opponent know I activate the infection vial, throw down the 2 supply cards that require to be able to play this, show it to your opponent, let them know, hey, I'm targeting the Necromancer King. It now has a permanent decrease of the health and attack by 3. So forever, for the rest of while this Necromancer King is on the battlefield, it loses 3 attack and 3 health, which means now it will be a 2 health and 0 attack if used with the infection vials. That's pretty cool. There's also other types of action cards. Most cases, action cards will be played off to the side. You tell your opponent, this is how I'm going to use it, and then you discard it to your grave. So you take that after activation, put it here, but you have other action cards like the Barricade. The Barricade needs 2 supply cards You pay the 2 supply cards, send it to the grave, and then put it in any open location on the battlefield, on your battlefield. And this is going to prevent all damage from happening behind the barricade. Only one of these can be active at any given time, so you cannot switch it out with a different barricade until this one is destroyed, and you personally cannot remove this from the game once activated as well. Your opponent has to destroy it. When it comes to the wooden barricade, this is the weakest barricade. Only one barricade type card may be active on your field. 8+ attack destroys this card during the attack phase from your opponent. This opponent has to have an 8 or above attack power to a target behind it, and it destroys this barricade in the process. You're not attacking the barricade itself, you're attacking a card behind it, which in result destroys the barricade itself. So then you send it to the grave. And then we're going to talk about tether cards. So earlier we were talking about tether cards. There's 2 different types of tether cards. There's ones that are built for zombie cards, and then there's ones that are built for survivor cards. You can tell it's a tether card because in the bottom left corner it shows a chain link, and the chain link references, hey, this is a tether card. And tether cards cannot be put in the summoning zone and then move up like a normal base card. No. So a tether card works similar to how abilities work, as they have no cost and you can use them as many times as you'd like, depending on how many times like it's available to you. So if I have these 2, if I already spent my preparation stage, I move this guy up and I move this guy up, but I have 2 tether cards, I can still go ahead and be like, okay, cool. Well, the Bitten gets the hammer, and the Necromancer gets the and the Necromancer gets the Bone Maiden. But keep in mind that the Bone Maiden has a one-time use ability. The hammer has a once per turn ability. Make sure that you understand that there are abilities and how to use them. So there's that. So tether cards can be played only during your turn and can be equipped to an eligible zombie or survivor card at no cost to your preparation stage or attack stage. These cards cannot be summoned by normal standards and have to be equipped to a survivor or a zombie. The tether card will have a brain symbol on it to tell you which type of card can use that tether, and a pink brain for survivors and a green brain for zombies. Tether cards have no limit to how many can be played during your turn, and only one tether card can be equipped per base card. Unless specified differently by card ability, tether cards also have abilities that can be used just like base cards. So you can use these abilities alongside base card abilities at any given time during your turn, and however many times you want, so long as you're respectable towards the amount of times you're allowed to use that ability specifically. And then self-tether cards may not equip a normal tether card. These cards can only equip to another card of the same name. So this is a self-tether card, the Swarm. You can tell it's a self-tether card because it says in the bottom left corner next to the green brain, it says self-tether, and then it says max 5 right above it. That means you can only attach Swarm to the Swarm. You cannot put a Bone Maiden to the Swarm. It's a self-tether card, which means you can only put a Swarm of the same name on top of the Swarm with the same name. They're only tethered by themselves. So, and then of course the ability here is very unique, so only at a max tether count, which means if there's 5 Swarm cards on top in one location, then it changes the stats of the cards itself. But typically in a self-tether card, what you're going to do is you're going to take the stats of one card, you're going to add it to the next card. So if I have 2 Swarm cards stacked to each other and tethered to each other, then now this card becomes 2 health and 2 attack, because that's the stats here. There's other cards that are self-tether with different stats, but the Swarm is the easiest one. This is also the very first card that's ever been added to the game, which is pretty cool. I love that card. Yeah, tether cards, when equipped, all stats of the health and attack get added to the base card it's equipped to. In this game, you have a hand size limit. In this game, you have a max hand size. No player may hold more than 25 cards in their hand throughout the game. Once the max is reached, the player may discard some cards and put it at the bottom of the deck to draw new cards. Cool. In your hand, if you have more than... Here's your hand. Here's your hand. If you have more than 25 and you start drawing more, discard some cards to the bottom of the deck. And then deck size. When creating a deck in this game, the player must have a minimum of 70 cards in their deck and a maximum of 100 cards. So you have a 30 card leeway between the two, but your starter deck will always have 100 cards, as much as I can get. And then one last thing. This is extra information. So certain cards will have a white star with a purple circle in it. And those symbols next to their ability means that this ability takes precedence over other abilities trying to modify it. No matter what, that card's going to have that ability. You can't modify the ability of that. You can't be like, change that ability's stats to this. You can't. If it has the white star and a purple circle around it, it will forever have that ability. You can't remove it. That ability takes precedence. And then referring to adjacent, what does this mean? I go through a huge deal of what adjacent means. People get confused about this all the time when playtesting this. It does not mean diagonal. It just means up, down, left, right. And certain cards will be like, for instance, if this card is the electrician boosts zombies in adjacent lanes to this card, which means the left lane and the right lane, but not the lane that the card is in, gets boosted. So this lane will get boosted, this lane will get boosted if this card was the electrician. And then this card here just boosts the attack of all zombie type cards. If you want to maximize its boost, you'll want to typically have a zombie there, you want to have a zombie there, and then a zombie here, and then all four of these cards will get boosted. But like I said, no diagonal cards get boosted. That does not mean adjacent in this context. And then if cards do not specify which side of the field that gets affected by an ability, this ability defaults to your side of the battlefield unless the ability significantly implies differently. And then everything is subject to change. If I missed anything, or if you have any questions or you're curious about the process of me making this game, just feel free to leave a comment, leave a like. Tell me what you think about everything. I have a blast making this game. This game's just for fun, and I'm working slowly on it, and I would love to get more people in on it and see how well it can go. Like I said, I am a solo developer, so it takes a long time for me to be able to process this whole information. This is like my 5th version or 6th version of this game that I just did, and then the drawing itself for each card takes a while. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I appreciate it. And if you want to play this game, go ahead and subscribe to it on Tabletop Simulator's Steam Workshop. All right, have a good one.